Okay.
Okay.
Says
Yep.
we're live, and I'll start
Yep.
recording as well. And then I'll check Facebook. Checking. Beautiful. It's all worked. Okay,
Excellent.
so Renee, and welcome everyone.
Yes.
Welcome everyone to our live this chilly Friday morning here in Sydney. And I have the beautiful Renee Mcdonald with me. And today we're talking about, Renee, you say the topic of
Yeah.
our live today.
Yeah. Let's talk to existential malaise
Wow.
and existential malaise transformation.
Oh, that I like the word transformation. That I can get behind that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But first, it's about acceptance. So,
Mm-hmm.
I know in this, I'm really grateful. Thank you for having me back too, because I love these conversations. I love, uh, Claudia, I love you and Juliet and your conversations that we've been having over the years.
Yeah,
It's been a few years now.
it
So
has.
thank you for allowing me back on as, as a regular guest. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it because I've got a lot to say
Huh?
about human ways, humanity, and how we exist. So existentialism, if we talk about the existential, it's actually about how do humans exist in the world. So
Right.
it's almost to get to level one of the existential, we have to first acknowledge we exist.
Right.
So that's kind of like the conundrum.
Yeah.
Do we exist or don't we? We can argue to the cows come home whether we do or we don't. But regardless, currently I'm in this body, you're
Uh-huh.
in your body,
Yes.
and we're talking. So that's the first kind of level one.
Uh-huh.
Okay. But what's really weird is we're now talking over what is called in the Jungian tradition the liminal. So we're talking in the liminal, which
Uh-huh.
is the door between worlds.
Right.
So we're talking currently in the door between worlds, in the physical, but in the ethereal as well. So it actually is magnified. And Facebook and Zoom know this.
Right.
So our voices are actually magnified on an energetic level when we talk in these virtual spaces.
Mm-hmm. I love it.
So that's another kind of existential conundrum that we're now working with and the powers that be can't shut our voices down in these spaces if we keep this going.
Yeah, right. Which is why we do what we do.
Yeah, because it's actually reaching millions of people across the internet, across Facebook, across wherever you send this to wherever it goes.
Yeah.
And wherever people then end up sharing this to, it goes out. It has a ripple effect.
Uh-huh.
And and for me, I want to keep coming back to these three terms because I chose this because there was a longer wording that I wanted to talk to. But essentially, what is the existential? The existential is just acknowledging that we are living.
Yeah, right.
But the number one question, because I talk to this a lot because I studied existentialism and majored in my master's as a therapist. Okay. So,
Okay.
I'm a therapist and I'm a coach, and I know other people who've listened to me before in here know that, but just to mention that for anyone who hasn't heard me speak before. So I'm a therapist and a coach, but I also try to live what I've learned. A lot of people might be, say, engineers, doctors, whatever, but they might not live what they've learned.
Yeah.
Part of learning to be a therapist is to try to actually live what you've learned. It doesn't mean you get it perfect because you can't control other people around you.
Yeah.
You can't control their actions. But I have to choose to live. That's the existential conundrum. You have to choose to live.
Yes. I think that's
And
where we all should
mm,
be starting, really, when
yeah,
we do any kind of shadow work or any kind of healing.
yeah, Yep.
we have to start with the choice to live, because that's why we're doing what we're doing.
Exactly. And this is so important. So a lot of existential, this is, I'm getting goosebumps on my arms around this conversation right now. I think this is really important that you just reiterated that. Okay. So a lot of existentialists are atheists, but
Oh,
I'm not. So existential with a spirituality makes it even more powerful,
right.
because not only do you choose to live, you choose to walk in spirit too.
Yeah.
So that makes it doubly or triply more powerful, because we know this. We are mind, body, spirit. We're not just mind, we're not just body, we're
Yeah.
also mind, body, and spirit.
Yeah. We have a soul.
Regardless of, yeah, but regardless of whatever, all the ancient texts, the Bible, you know, the Quran, like we all know these exist. And
Uh-huh.
it doesn't matter what you personally believe, but there's a reason why all these ancient texts exist. People learned things in the past and they tried to pass on the knowledge.
Mm.
Now, the passing of on of knowledge is through these spaces
Yeah.
that we're in right now. And so we don't want this to be what's called an existential vacuum. So,
Mhm.
what is the existential vacuum? The existential vacuum is almost like we exist, then we die, and almost like down the rabbit hole we go and we never come out. So the existential vacuum is almost like sucked in.
And we disappear.
You don't, and you don't want to be spat out. Instead, our choice to live has to be mind, body, and spirit.
Uh, Yeah, I agree. I agree.
And so,
Spirit is a huge part of it, because in my mind, I don't see the point of the rest. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like all three need to go together, because
yes,
otherwise that vacuum that you just talked about, it's almost as though that's what you believe. You just go into a vacuum and you'll never
yeah.
be again.
And then your life is worth nothing. It literally, your life at the moment, because of, we're in this age of Aquarius and all these kind of things that we're coming through. And
Yeah.
there's also the age of Reformation and Renaissance that will be coming. There's also there's always been this with humanity, age of Reformation, Renaissance, that kind of comes on the back of hard times. There needs to be a Renaissance. It's coming. Whether any of us realize it or not, we have to speak to these things. How do we reform things? How do we renew things? That's what the Renaissance period is. And my name is Renee, rebirthing. So, what is the rebirthing process in order to live? So, we don't just exist, we live. We live from the heart. And so we have to find, I mean, there's a lot of people talking in spiritual circles and Christian circles and other circles, because there's also the time of revelations. We are almost in this time of revelations. So we need to speak to what does that mean for humanity? This is really, really huge things.
Mm.
What it means is we need to find the sacred heart within.
Yes, I feel like what you're saying, Renee, is important, because it's almost like we are preparing ourselves, because
Yeah,
it's like a tree. If we have deep roots, when the
yeah,
wind comes, we've got that
yeah.
stability there.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like
And
the
the
wind
wind
is
has come.
coming. The wind is
Well,
coming.
what if, this is what if, we can prepare for the wind?
Mm,
And
yeah,
at the moment, I feel like my family, there's been some things going on in my family. I'll own that for all the listeners. There's stuff that's gone on in my family. I don't know about every one of you, but if you haven't had stuff happen to your family, you might not be living right now,
yeah,
because if you're living, there's usually stuff going on in people's families. I'm hearing all the stories because I'm a therapist. So we need to own this. How do we be better
yeah.
to each other? And guess what coffee cup I got this morning?
Show
It's
me.
the answer:
Oh, paradox.
paradox.
Oh, yes,
So
paradox.
it's there's the existential paradox. Okay, and this is what I
Yes,
learned. And I taught existentialism at university level, so I can talk to this. There is an existential paradox for each and every person.
yes.
This is the irony. In order to be a good human, you must feel. And in order to heal, you must feel first, then you heal. I even had moments with my husband this morning. He was losing it and all that. But the point is, it's not about the losing it, it's how do you regroup. I love Brene Brown's work around this. Brene Brown's work is very powerful around this. Are you foreboding joy?
Mm.
And at the moment, the powers that be want us to forebode joy.
Yes. This,
They want us to forebode joy. So
yeah,
what
and
does
this is,
forebode?
yeah, this has been
Sorry.
huge on my heart, Renee. I'm glad we're talking about this because this has been huge on
Yeah.
my heart
Yeah.
because I've just kind of like, I've been foreboding joy, I think, for the past 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
um, maybe even longer than that,
Yeah.
because things come into your awareness that slowly but surely, like little paper cuts, take joy away, take joy away.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And it's been happening. I've been watching it happen to me in
Yeah.
my own life. And I
Yeah.
decided very recently, I decided I need to find the joy regardless of all the suffering that I can witness.
Yes.
I need to find
Yes.
joy because if we are not finding the joy and we're only focusing on the suffering,
Yes. Yes.
we'll be sucked into that vacuum that you're talking about.
Exactly. And I
Yeah.
was just having moments with my husband this morning about this, and he had some revelations. But I believe the time of revelations, which is pretty much where we are at now, is to own our own truths, not
Yeah.
for anyone else to own our truth.
Yeah.
It's for us individually and collectively to own our truths. It's to own that we've been sucked into the existential vacuum
Yeah.
and actually to then say, enough. I will not let you take any more of my children. I will not let you take any more of my family. I will not allow anything more to be taken from me. And instead, in the spiritual tradition, we talk to something else entirely is giving and receiving, not giving and taking. The ways of the devil, and we need to go there, is to give and take.
Contractual.
Giving and receiving. How do we receive love into our heart? How do we receive care into our heart? I can honestly say I'm so grateful for my friends right now, and even people like yourself, Claudia, really, because without beautiful people in my life, yourself included, but there's also many others that are around me,
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't have survived the last few years because there's been things that have happened to me that I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy.
Mm. I know what you're talking about.
And yet it's happened.
Mm.
But here's the thing, you still have to keep going anyway.
Yeah.
If you had terrible things happen to you, you can either sit down and like take it and just be depressed and not do anything, or you can choose to live. The choice is yours to choose to live. Now, I can say this to myself too, and I've had depressing days, but I actively choose not to be depressed. There's a
Yeah.
difference.
Yeah. Yeah. My mum used to say stuff like this to me all the time. She used
Yeah.
to say, you know, I know you're sad, but you need to get up and you need to get dressed.
Yeah. 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 And, my mum would too. And I'll give my mum that as well. But here's the thing, we can't use other people's feelings against them.
Yeah.
In the world, we can't do that because that's evil.
Yeah.
We need to allow people to live. So, part of the existential way of living is to choose to live too. So, there's a saying in the existential tradition, and this is huge, it's a conundrum. It's a rhetorical question.
Okay.
It's, is life for the living or those slowly dying?
To me, it's the first one.
But with everything that's happened with COVID, over half of the world is the second.
I know.
We have to choose to live. We have to. Otherwise, we die at the hands of others. That's
Yes.
what happens.
Yeah. We're allowing the control.
Exactly. But we have to say enough. It's not up to anyone else to tell us when enough is.
Yeah.
Someone turns the tap on full into our mouth and we have to take. No, we say, no, like, I've had enough. I'm full up with your crap now. Enough.
Yeah.
We have to choose that. This is what's kind of really what, and this is a really huge, challenging piece. The hugest challenging piece for us all is to realize we fucked up too. Sorry
Yeah.
for your listeners out there. But you know, like, really, we've messed up.
Yeah.
We've messed up because we didn't respect ourselves and our lives enough to say no
Mm.
right at the start of any problem in the world.
Renee,
At any time.
I'm interested to know because I agree with everything that you're saying right now, and it's speaking to something so relevant in our psyches and in our feelings and in what we're seeing in the world and everything, right? And you're speaking to a lot of things that have been coming up for me in my consciousness. And listening to you speak, the first thing that comes into my head is, how did we get here? What was it about, our mental state that we've allowed it to get this far? And to me, the answer lies in that question, because if we can unravel why we're here, why we got ourselves here, then we can choose
Yeah,
differently. But
absolutely.
in your opinion, why have we, is it technology that has taken our focus away from,
Mhm.
what is it? What's maybe it's a combination of things.
Yes. Um, oh, so many things. And I think that question is so huge. It almost,
Yeah.
I think I need to come back for that question online. Like, really, because I know you know this. So I've gone down all the rabbit holes, but I'm not a crazy ass conspiracy
No.
theorist.
You have to,
Instead,
yeah, you have
yeah,
to investigate everything.
yeah, I used to be a film researcher when I was younger.
Right.
So there's a difference between medical or scientific research and information-based research, and we need to know the difference. Information-based research is for your own knowledge. So we need to get better, if we're thinking alternatively, at what does information-based knowledge look like. I'll give you one example. I think a great resource, so because I don't want it to just this to all be about me or my opinions or whatever, because I've done a lot of study in this area, this particular area. So I love that you brought this in. Um, okay, Jordan Peterson,
Yeah.
whether he's a bit of a divisive character, but he is an information-based researcher
Right.
more than a scientist, even though he does that too. But he's an interesting combination between the two. So if anyone is interested and you haven't heard of him, if you're listening, I would recommend looking at his work, even YouTube's, Instagram, whatever. Jordan Peterson is a really good place to start because he talks about the existential as well.
Right.
So he's clearly studied Sartre, Socrates, Aristotle, and I had to study a lot of that stuff in order to get my master's in existentialism. Okay, so I had to like go like knee deep in all the old books and old things, and then even talk about how my miscarriage that I had was an existential crisis for me. Yeah.
Yep.
And so, but I don't just share that just off the cuff. If anyone's interested, I'm happy to talk more to like that kind of thing later, because I can speak to disenfranchised grief. So I majored in disenfranchised grief in my master's. I majored in the existential approach, and I put the two together.
Yeah.
And what has happened with COVID is existential malaise, which is the deadening and demise and absolute heartbreaking depressive states of humanity
Yeah.
right now. I don't know if you can hear me. We were kind
Yeah.
of cut off
You
for a second.
you did cut
Yeah.
off for a sec, but you're back now.
Yeah. So I guess I'm just trying to share that the absolute heartbreaking existential depressive and vacuumous like state. So we will be sucked into an existential vacuum if we don't choose to live and say enough.
Yeah.
It's up to each and every one of us to say when enough is enough. It really is. It's that clear to me now, but it's also that clear to a lot of people who've done some alternative thinking and done all this kind of stuff. So just going back to say someone like Jordan Peterson. So Jordan Peterson has done his work and research, and I've trained people to this level, but one of my biggest frustrations is I've got a lot of knowledge, but not many people are listening because
Yeah, so
they
true.
automatically assume I must be a crazy ass conspiracy theorist. But
Mm.
like, I came up with wild theories in 2007, and this is well before COVID and just after September 11, 6 years after that, and on the back of my miscarriage and on the back of everything that was happening. And I could see, this is even before, some of the Rockefeller things that came out and all that I've seen those documents. So we need to be very careful. We need to figure out how much our lives are worth, because that's the other existential dilemma. Is my life worth anything? That's only up to you to decide. It's your self-worth, self-esteem, self-care, self-governing, self-ways to figure out how much is your life worth. And as far as I'm concerned, it's in our lightness that we are most scary,
Mm.
because we are more powerful beyond measure. If anyone's interested, the Marianne Williamson poem, I'm sure you've heard of that one too. Um, uh, it's it's in our lightness, not our darkness, that we are most afraid.
Yes, I remember
So
her
we
speaking about
forebode
it.
joy.
Yeah.
Yes. So we forebode joy, but we have to choose lightness, not darkness now. We have to. But first, we have to be spun through an existential vacuum of sorts,
Yeah. Yeah.
And we have to choose to rebirth ourselves to live.
So
But first, that means
you're talking about a kind of like a dark night of the soul, that type of thing.
100%. But what's come to me really big time is there's a reason why they deaden depression. Do you want to know why?
Oh, because it stops the journey. We don't get
We are
to
stopped,
feel it.
we are stopped in our tracks,
Yes.
our journey, if we don't feel depressed.
Yeah,
We
right.
have to feel depressed. But that's the grief.
Mm.
It's not to be stuck in that clinical depression state. It's actually to go, fuck, this is horrendous. I can't take anymore. And then call for help, call a
Yeah.
therapist, call a coach, call someone who's been there, done that, and out the other side. Call someone like me. I've probably got at least 100 colleagues that I could forward anyone on to. Like, that's also what I want to share. There's people of resource like me, and I know you too, Claudia. Like, you and I have a lot of personal and professional resource people, I know you do,
Yes.
people need to reach out to people like you and I, and we need to be the bearers of the light. But first, you need to find the darkness in
Yeah.
order to get to the light.
Yeah. So
And that is the existential conundrum. You have to often have a personal death while you're still alive in order to find the way to live.
I saw something on the internet yesterday that said, because what we're talking about here is rock bottom, right? We're talking about where you get to a point
Yeah,
in life where you say, this
yeah,
is it. I'm not taking it anymore. I've got to do something about it. And you
yes,
realize there's nobody coming to save you. There's no one out there
yep,
who's going to lend a hand. You need to do it
yep,
yourself. And
yep,
this thing that I saw was rock bottom is actually a stable foundation. Like it's a
yeah,
place you get to where you can put your feet down on the bottom of the pool and push yourself back
exactly.
up.
And metaphorically, that's where you find the new seeds too.
Yeah, right.
But you have to plant them. You have to plant them. So, metaphorically, we have to plant new seeds with tears often, because the tears are often the seed planting for the future, because it needs to rain in our lives. And that's on the back of depression and sadness. We need to feel sad. We need the tears for our healing in order to grow new roots so that our trees can weather. We need to be able to weather the storm.
Yeah. So what I'm seeing is and feeling is when we get depressed, when we're stuck in depression for a while,
Yep.
I
Yep.
think another layer of self-pity comes over the top of that. And
Yeah.
because we see, people say, like we get people saying it to us. I know I've had this, people saying, go to a doctor and get some help, go to a doctor and get some
Oh, yeah.
medication,
Yeah.
go
Yeah.
and get some pills that are going to help you with that. And I have in
Yeah.
the past done that. And I
Mm.
found myself in a position where I was taking pills every day. And I thought to
Yeah.
myself, I don't want this for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
So I chose, because I didn't want to take pills forever. So I
Yeah.
chose for myself to um to come off the pills and go to therapy.
Yes.
That's what I
Good.
chose for myself, because I was like, I know if I go to therapy, I'm working through the symptoms and
Yes.
I'm going
Yes.
to a place. I'm not just sitting in the drugged
Yeah.
stupor of it.
Yes. Yes.
So, and then when because I lost a baby too, I had a miscarriage, a stillbirth, and after that, I went to a psychiatrist and I said, "Look, I'm seeing you because I don't want to go on medication because I went down that
Mm,
road before and I don't want to go down that road again." And
mm,
he understood that,
mm,
and
mm,
he worked with me on that medical
mm.
plan that I had chosen for myself, and
Yep.
really helped me
Good.
because I was
Yeah.
lucid the whole time I was seeing him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Absolutely.
it's not for everyone. I think drugs do have a place, but not
Yeah.
permanently.
Absolutely. They're a band-aid. We need to accept that they are a band-aid. But
Yes.
what happens when you rip off the band-aid? Sometimes the wound and the scars are still there.
Yeah.
They are still there. And how do you make sure that they knit themselves back into place?
Yeah.
It's actually, you need to do your own stitching of your life,
Mm,
almost stitching your life back together.
yeah.
And I've been getting all these, like, because I'm going there, like I channel a bit. I get all these downloads, and my downloads are around what is the tapestry that anyone like me, you, anyone listening to this, what is the tapestry you're stitching?
Yeah. That's a good question.
And are you allowing people to rip your tapestry apart? If you allow that, you will have no more
Yeah.
anything. Your life will be worthless. If you allow anyone to rip your life apart, your life is worthless. I will
I think,
not allow that.
yeah, and I think
In
it's
my life,
important.
I'm not going to allow that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's important for people to know here in this point of the
Yeah,
conversation that
yeah,
however that looks, it doesn't matter.
yeah,
It's unique to you, and
yes,
it doesn't matter if you get it wrong sometimes. You learn
yes,
through the process. And then what happens is, in my experience, once you've said no once and you fight back in put into place whatever it is you need to put into place to protect
yep,
yourself or to put those
yeah,
barriers, those
yeah,
boundaries, whatever it is,
yeah,
those then that's your no muscle. It's the muscle within you that's saying no to
yeah,
whatever it is,
yeah,
gets stronger and
yeah,
stronger and stronger. And then more and more people hear that no, and less
yeah,
people will try and
yeah,
come at you with whatever it is and
yeah,
take things from you.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, give and take is for the devil.
Yeah, right.
Giving and receiving. You have your own tapestry, other people have their own tapestry. Can we join our tapestries together? And
Okay.
I use this as an analogy because it came to me, I believe it came to me from my grandmother. My grandmother used to stitch tapestries,
Yeah,
and
right.
she used to show me how it was done. And she'd stitch it, and sometimes you get the stitches wrong. And it goes back to what you were saying, that it's okay if you get it wrong. So sometimes you just pull out the thread yourself, but don't let other people pull out your own threads.
So we're basically talking about sovereignty and consent here.
Oh, 100%. But it's everything. It can be little, big, but the other thing, my grandmother taught me so much, my dad's mother.
Uh-huh.
Um, she had 8 children. She was an amazing woman and I don't believe, wasn't respected for what she brought the family enough. Um, but she was a powerhouse, 5'10" powerhouse, and I'm 4'8.5", so like more like my mum and my mum's mum. And she was a woman you wouldn't want to mess with, but at the same time brought heart and stitched her tapestries. And so this is what was coming to me the other day. She stitched her tapestries and also she brought prayer.
Yeah, right.
So she was a spiritual woman who brought prayer and who would ring you and check in with you. Are you okay?
Yeah, right. Yeah, we don't have enough of that now, I don't think.
Yeah.
We don't
I
do
feel
enough of
like
that for each other.
that's the main lessons from my grandmothers. I'm so grateful to them for that.
Yeah.
You know, um, but it's also not to take away from modern grandparents. It's also, but we need to accept that parenting is a different journey now with all of these kind of things. Um, and what we're doing here, how do we stitch new tapestries together and not rip each other apart?
Yeah.
How and my feeling is it's about prayer and it's about accepting where you are on the existential too.
Mm. Acceptance and prayer.
Yeah, yeah,
That's a pretty good combination, I think.
yeah. And it's also, if you want to meditate or whatever you do, whatever people believe in, I'm not just pushing any particular spiritual denomination because I aim to not do that, but everyone believes what they believe.
Yeah.
And if you want to join whatever, then go for it. And I say a big however, I think we need to acknowledge that everything has its place too. Just like before I came on this morning, I saw two satin bowerbirds after my husband and I. had a bit of a niggle,
Yeah.
and he was feeling so absolutely terrible about lots of different things. And I challenged him about how I didn't see he had as much heart as someone else. And that was like, whoa.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then he's like, are you serious? And I'm like, yeah. And so I said, you have to find that in you. So, so this is about the transformation process, I believe. So the existential malaise. So we're talking about the malaise of everyone now because we've been put in this place. We have to find within ourselves our own tough mudder. So that's the grit point.
Yeah.
So the grit point, which is what is it that keeps you going? For me, what keeps me going is so many things. But people listening to this have to work out what that is for themselves.
Yeah.
So my work sustains me. My family sustains me. Where I live sustains me. And I could take any of those things anywhere because it's actually about appreciating. I appreciate the nature around me. I go out most mornings and I go to the sunrise and I go, wow, this is fantastic. And if you appreciate it, you get more of it, not less.
Yeah. That's right.
So
That's
gratitude is also, they're now saying gratitude is the way to joy.
yeah.
However, other people can say you should be grateful, and shooting on people means like you're shitting on them.
Yeah.
So your gratefulness or gratitude or appreciation, whatever word you want to use, even just appreciation, you need to appreciate yourself, even just for listening into this or for, um, you know, appreciating the sun that exists and warms you, or appreciating the clothes that you've got on, or like whatever it is, it can be so small.
Yeah.
But sometimes people think we should appreciate the big things, but that's where the devil comes in.
Yeah.
The devil,
I love that you said that the devil is in the give and take. It's the contract, because to
mm,
me, that's like a contract. And
yeah,
that's been my experience too, is that type of, like, everything that comes across your doorstep, you get to choose yes or no for that. And when you say yes, you're contracting with that thing.
yeah,
So if,
yeah,
whatever it is, it's like,
mm,
but if you energetically realize that and say, okay, the,
mm,
the gate is closed.
mm,
I'm not contracting. I'm not saying yes anymore. The gate is
mm-hmm,
closed, and I'm going to do the inner work that I need to do to be
yeah,
discerning about what comes into my life now.
yes,
Like housekeeping. That's
absolutely,
it. I'm done.
yeah,
And I think what we're talking about today, Renee, is so important because that looks different for everybody, right?
yeah,
That point
yeah,
we say, right, enough's enough, looks different for everyone. Some people, it can be, on the bathroom floor, they've had a drunken night and they've gone, you know, they're on the tiles and they're throwing up and their life looks like shit. And they go, okay, this is my rock bottom. I'm not doing this
yeah,
anymore. Other people,
yeah,
it can be like, for me, I think one of those times was losing a child.
yeah,
That
yeah,
was one of the worst times of my life. And it
yeah,
created an existential crisis for me. It was like,
yep,
what am I
yep,
doing here? All of
yep,
those grief questions that come out.
yep,
And I think that those are the times where we get to stop and say, um, what do I, because if we don't stop and say, what have I got to be grateful for?
mm,
And we don't start picking out the things in our lives that are good for us, then
Yeah.
how do we claw our way back? Like that to me is the ladder. Each
Yeah.
ladder is something to live for. It's something
Yeah. Yes.
to say,
Yes.
this is what's good in my life, and this is how I'm going to come out from the dark into the light.
Exactly. And it's a big, however, nobody can tell you what to be grateful for.
That's right.
One of the biggest issues I've had with my family is for them trying to tell me what I need to be grateful for.
Exactly.
It's like a punch in the head. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Because they're not
so
allowing you your individuation.
exactly. Exactly, right?
Yeah.
And everyone needs to go through a process of individuation. And if you don't, you get sucked into the existential vacuum.
Yeah. Because you lose yourself.
So you have to choose to live for you. And
Yeah.
that is not narcissistic. So our forefathers did us in because even the tribes of Africa, the tribes in Australia, of Aboriginal and Indigenous people, like really, they learnt this. They know this. It is not civilized to control other people. It's
Yeah.
not.
Yeah. 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 High
It
five to
is
them.
absolutely the opposite of civilized to control other people, to force people to do anything, to coerce people to do anything. And granted, I'm not perfect at this, but I know which hills I die on. I know the hills I'm going to die on.
Yeah. And that's one of
But
them.
it shouldn't be the cross that we have to bear, though,
Yeah.
because if we want to go somewhere else in the Christian tradition, the argument of the Christians is that Jesus died on the cross, so we shouldn't have to too.
Yeah. Right.
So, and this is what I've been deeply looking into lately. It means we don't have to do that, but we can choose to live. And I've been listening to some amazing Christian songs lately, almost in my revelationary period. And one of them is about God says live.
Yeah.
God says live. God doesn't say die, but God says live. Why? We can choose to be remembered for our hearts too.
Mm.
But first, we have to do it for ourselves. Then we do it for others. You cannot give from an empty cup. People cannot keep taking from you and you keep giving to them.
No.
It doesn't work that way.
Yeah. And
And a big but to that, if people want to keep giving,
yeah.
and this happened to me too, and I had a very empty cup, then the vultures will come in. And vultures have come in for my life. I've been astounded. The vultures that have come in trying to take me out. Oh my God, no more.
Yeah.
We have to choose to be the condors in our own lives, individually, not collectively. So, what does that mean? It means overseeing your own life. It
Yeah.
means choosing to be better than being pulled down to the crap of other vultures.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so I'm doing a lot of work with this symbolism and the paradox. Like, interesting, I got this cup this morning. The existential paradox of us living is choosing to feel in order to heal, not choosing to band aid in order to stay stuck. It is
Yeah.
very clear. And so,
So,
on that note, I want to suggest for everyone to read
oh yeah,
or
please.
get a hold of her stuff. Dr. Jessica Taylor, she's doing some really amazing work. Um, her company is called Victim Focus. And now I'm going to go somewhere where people won't expect. We are now all victims
Mm.
of a messed up society. We have to choose to be victors now.
Yeah.
Every single one of us. Not about us versus them, you versus me. I'll take from your tapestry, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
No, enough. We have to choose to be victors in our own life,
Yeah. By
not
saying no.
victors not victors over other people.
No.
Don't lord over other people's lives. That's the give and take model. That is then playing chess with other people's lives.
Yeah. What I'm seeing, it's very interesting because what I'm seeing in my group, and
Yeah.
we're live in my group now, on
Yep.
Facebook, and it's not really, my daughter and I created it, but it's everybody's group, right?
Yeah.
We very much see it that way.
Yeah.
And what I'm seeing there is that people's opinions, people will post up their opinions, and other people come in and say, "You're wrong. You see that
Mm,
wrong. That's not the way it is." And I'm very careful with
yeah.
policing that and saying to people, "Hang on a minute. This person is expressing an opinion of where they're at in their life at the moment. We don't all, none of us get to say whether they're wrong or right. It's not up to
Yeah.
us to tell somebody
Mm,
else that their perspective is wrong. We
yeah.
can add,
Yes.
we can add
Yeah.
to the perspective. We can say,
Yes.
hey, look at my little portal of the world over here. This is what I'm seeing. And we
Mm-hmm.
can, we can discuss their opinion,
Mm,
or what they're seeing or the way they see the world.
yeah.
We can discuss it, but we
Yeah.
cannot say to other people that our perspective is the right one and your perspective is the wrong one.
Exactly.
Doesn't matter
Exactly.
what the subject matter is. It doesn't matter if it's mental health, religion,
Yep.
whatever,
Yep.
a dark night of the soul,
Yep.
any kind of philosophy to do with mental health. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
We are not the authority. We are the authority in our own lives, but we are not
Yes.
the authority over anybody else.
Exactly. You
Yes,
can take the horse to water, but you have to learn yourself how to drink. And that's
that's
up
right.
to you to
That's
learn
right.
how to drink. Not, and I only speak to this not because I'm right or wrong, but it's because I've gone through it and I've helped thousands of other people go through it too.
Yeah,
Thousands.
yeah.
I've worked as a therapist now for 23 years, and I've done about 20 years of work on myself. I only speak to this because I've lived it, breathed it, know it, but also know over the other side what it looks like and what it feels like to have vultures in my life.
So do you feel then, Renee, that the things that we've experienced over the past 5 years has
Yeah.
opened the door for this type of vulturism to take place?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So what
Absolutely.
you're calling for, this conversation in your mind is calling for people to notice that the door for the vultures is open and we need to close
Yep.
it.
100%.
Right.
And And more than that is it requires us to say no. So I can say I'm so grateful I did the training in my therapy when I did, because therapy training is very different now. And I was talking to a friend about generative learning. Most people don't know what this means. Okay, so
No,
there's
I've
so
never
many
heard of
things.
it.
So, yeah, okay. So generative learning is generating your learning in
Yeah.
the here and now. You and I talking right now is generative learning. However, for everyone, I want to put a challenge out there to anyone listening. And this is just a suggestion, not telling you what to do ever.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
as a therapist, my suggestion is to anyone who listens to this and goes, yes, I agree with you. However, I don't agree with X, Y, Z. Fine.
Yeah.
Go look up any of the people I'm mentioning. Go look up new things. Go to Jordan Peterson, go to Jessica Taylor, go to my stuff. Like I've got stuff out in the world too. Go to anyone's anything and look in the reference lists. Go to the reference list. Like just start learning different learning then. Don't just trust what other people tell you
Yes.
to live. Don't just trust what the news tells you to live.
Yeah.
Don't just trust what your father, mother, sister, brother, whoever tells you to live.
Yeah.
Don't just trust that. You have to do your own research, one, but you also have to look inside your soul and say, what is my purpose? What is my passion?
Yeah.
And then find the will to live.
Yeah.
Because without purpose and passion, you have no will to live. And
Yeah.
that's what I was talking to my husband about today. And he would be okay with me mentioning this because that's why I'm mentioning him. Because he's going on a journey now. He has to refine his passion.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. We all
Yeah.
do.
And
We all do to a
we've,
certain extent.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I've had to refine my passion when my family was virtually ripped apart.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I will not let anyone touch my tapestry
Yeah.
or allow my family's new tapestry to be touched anymore.
And I think the other thing that I'm seeing, and it's off the back of what you've just said, is people now we've been receiving this message that humanity is evil. And, we because I see it in my group all the time, people saying, um, you know, I don't think um, I don't think that humanity should be multiplying anymore. I think that the world can't take it. People are destroying the planet. We're the evil ones that kill animals. So it's like this spotlight of hatred has been turned inward to
Yep.
ourselves, and that
Yeah.
we are no longer supporting, like, people will cry and get so upset when they see an animal being some kind of cruelty happening to an animal. But if cruelty is happening to a human being, it's like, oh, well, they deserved it. And I'm
Yeah.
seeing this more and more and more now. And
Yeah.
also couples and women saying, I don't want to get married. I don't want to have children. Couples saying, I'm not bringing a child into this world. It's too evil. It's too this, it's too that. And I think that there's this thread that has been born in the tapestry of humanity, if we're talking tapestry analogies here,
Yeah.
that there's this thread that has been born into our psyches that we are the problem, that we
Yeah.
shouldn't exist. And
Yeah.
I think this speaks to our podcast today, speaks to that. We need to look at that. We need to look where that
Yeah.
comes from. Is that
Yes.
true? Because
Yes.
yes, there is cruelty in the world. Yes, there is cruelty to
Yeah.
animals. Yes, we have been the ones who have done that. But does that mean that we shouldn't exist? Or does that mean that we
Okay.
should learn from that and turn the tables?
I love that you brought this in because the generative learning I did
Yeah.
in my original course, um, it's body-based learning and even learning in vivo. I hope everybody knows what I mean by in vivo. In vivo means, okay, so you imagine yourself, but you even do it like a role play. So it
Uh-huh.
was a lot of role playing. And actually, rather than just knowing about human psychology like here, we
Right.
had to act it out and we had to try out different things so that we could genuinely sit with someone and genuinely listen, genuinely. And now this disingenuousness across the world, and I just experienced it in a doctor's appointment the other day. Let me tell you,
Yeah, right.
disingenuous to the next level, evil to the next level, but this person would think they're sweetness and light.
Yeah.
Everybody else is evil. If you're taking from me, then you're the evil one.
Right.
Not me.
Yeah, right.
Not me. And let's go there. The blame game has to stop. Humanity's this, humanity's that. Sorry, guys. You got to turn it on yourself. Because
Yes.
as I learned in my original course, this is going to be wild. There's a little bit of Hitler in everyone.
Yeah, that's yin and yang.
Yes, if we don't admit we are capable of evil too,
Yes.
all bets are off. Sorry, guys. Sorry, guys. Like, whatever. So we go to Hitler places if we don't own our darkness and
That's
our
right.
light.
That's
Yeah.
right. Yes.
Yeah. So, and lots of people have written about this over, again, so again, you make up your own minds, but honestly, you have to choose the good. I'm here for the good, not for the evil. But if we're all going to get got like Jesus, come on. Do we need to repeat history, or are we going to learn what happened to Jesus? Jesus, I believe there was a lot of Satanists. We need to call this stuff out. We
Yeah.
need to say no to the Satanists. We need to say no to people trying to overlord over us. We
Yeah.
need to say no. This is not crazy making. This is not crazy talking. This is actually, sorry, guys, I don't need the latest iPhone. I don't need the latest Netflix. I don't need the latest anything,
Mm.
but I can choose to partake in that if I want to receive that rather than have Netflix take from me or iPhone take from me.
You're talking
What
about
are
the
we
shoulda, woulda.
doing?
You're talking about the shoulds, like I should have the latest of this and I should have the latest of that. And we're
Yeah.
on this train of, well,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not good enough if I don't have the big house and the shiny car and the this and the that. So it's like the material world is calling us constantly to spend more
Mm-hmm.
money and to have the latest contraption to keep up with the Joneses. And we are the
Mm-hmm.
ones who end up, no one's talking about the bank account draining more and more and more.
Mm-hmm.
And then we
Taking, they're
taking,
draining us.
taking,
That's the
taking.
vultures. That's the vultures, man.
Exactly
Vultures.
right. So taking, taking, taking. And then all of a sudden, one day we turn around and we look at our bank account and there's nothing left. And we go, how the
Mm-hmm.
hell did that happen? I did
Yep.
everything I was supposed to do. I was keeping up with the Joneses. I had the good job. I had the this, I had the that. It's like we are blinded to how this works. You are
Exactly.
the energy is coming from you. The energy is coming from your bank account. And so that's why you've got to keep your eyes on.
On your own energetic bank account.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Enough already.
if you don't, if all you're worried about is keeping up with the world and doing what you're
Yep.
supposed to do, you're
Yep.
you then you go, why am I depressed? Why am I feeling this? Why am I feeling
Exactly.
so crap?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've got to look after our own families. We've got to look after our own communities. It comes from the grassroots. In the Bible, it suggests that the meek will inherit the earth, not the mighty, not the all powerful, the meek.
Yeah.
And we can still be meek, but powerful, self empowered,
Yeah.
not power over.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Enough already. You know what I'm saying? Like
I do.
we need to be sovereign unto ourselves. And that is the Jesus and the Christian like message. Actually, it's not just that someone like Jesus might have died. It's also that we have to choose to live in life and in death.
Yeah.
Like, this is what's wild. What is your legacy? What do you want your legacy to be? Do you want to be like the person who takes it, and then like takes it up the arse from
Mm.
like, I decided 26 years ago I wouldn't take it up the arse from anyone more.
Yeah.
26 years ago. But I'm still waiting to have other people join me on this side of the fence in a lot of the people in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In that time, Renee, have you seen a change? Have you seen the people, more and more people saying no? Have you seen that? Or have you seen a decline in that?
It's mixed. And
Mm.
so when I was studying some 26 years ago, which is, I made that decision because before that, I was with a guy who was an addict. And I saw his demise. He let the vultures win. He let his
Yeah.
own inner demons win. You let your inner demons win at the peril of living your life.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm seeing that in the demise of some family members at the moment
Yeah.
that will remain nameless
Yeah.
for lots of different reasons.
Yeah.
But I'm seeing that in the demise of family members, but they think they're on top right now. If they don't find their inner sovereignty, they will die thinking they won,
Mm-hmm.
but they didn't win at all. And they will go straight to hell, literally straight to hell.
Yeah. Well, because I know what's going on, I agree with what you're saying. But people, even if they don't know what's the details of what you're saying, they, everybody has that, has or has had that person in their life who's tried to bring them down
Yep.
or been so invested in meddling in their lives, an outsider or a
Mm-hmm.
family member or somebody who's tried to meddle in their lives because of whatever justifications they have in their brain.
Mm-hmm.
So we know what that feeling is like. We
Mm.
can put ourselves in those shoes.
Mm.
And I think what you're speaking to is when we see the signs of that happening, of somebody coming to take
Mm-hmm.
control,
Yeah.
that's
Mm-hmm.
when we kind of go, hang on a minute. I remember seeing Renee and Claudia talking about this stuff.
Yeah.
I'm going to say
Yeah.
no here.
Yeah.
I'm
Good.
going to say no here. And I don't,
Yeah.
doesn't matter if you're on your knees. It doesn't matter if, you're
Yeah.
halfway down the road, or it doesn't matter if you're on the tiles and you're,
Yeah.
having your dark night of soul because
Yeah.
you drunk too much the night before and it's the,
Yeah.
2 millionth time you've done it. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter. It's what matters is the day that you wake up and say enough. That's what
Yep.
matters.
Yep. Yeah. So I want to leave your listeners with a few things. Thank you so much for that, because like I feel like you're just adding weight to what I'm saying. Yeah, because this is all true.
Yeah, I get it because I've been that person too.
But if we don't own our spiritual connected beings, we risk spiritual bypassing.
Yeah,
This, I know it's a spiritual group. You can spiritually bypass and then judge others for not being as spiritual. That's just messed up there too. Sorry, everyone, but you need to actually own your own stuff in
yeah,
order to be spiritual.
that's right.
All of the spiritual texts say this. You have to go through your own dark night of the soul. Even Buddha did. He got rid of being being the prince and the princely ways and all that. Like, sometimes you have to be on your knees in
Yeah.
order to find a new way.
Yeah.
It's bizarre, but sometimes we need to be brought to our knees to then say, you don't get to take anything more from me.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Not a single thing more from me.
Yeah. Yes. Wow. Renee, amazing. Again, we'll definitely have another conversation around this. I think every time I speak to you, and for those, I've just remembered to say, for those tuning in, Juliet's not here today because she's just started a new job and she's got new hours and everything. So that's why she's not with us. I should have said that at the beginning. I forgot. I was too busy doing all the techie stuff. But every time we have you on with us, Renee, we talk about some really, really deep and pertinent things that are happening in the world. And so it's always, an hour is never enough. An hour is never enough for us.
We could talk all day.
Yeah, we could. So yeah, we'll
Yeah.
definitely continue with another in a few months. We'll book you in and we'll get you back. And we'll
Thank you.
continue
Do you
talking
mind
about
if I
this.
say just a couple more things before we finish?
Sure.
And just something for your this is for your listeners. Get out the spiritual textbooks. Look at what is spoken about even in the Bible, like really. So get out these textbooks, the revelationary times. It's been spoken about a lot, but what are the three things that are said? Number one, it will be the women of Zion, people like you and I, who will need to be listened to in these revelationary times.
Right.
Not the men, the women and the spiritual women.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's us.
Number two is we will need to prepare for end times, but then we will survive. Number three is the meek will inherit the earth.
Mm-hmm. And that's us too.
Mm-hmm.
Look at me in my bedroom doing this without a setup. Yeah. The meek.
Yeah.
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 Definitely. Thank you, Renee.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll be sending this video to a few people. I think some people who this will resonate with, definitely. Appreciate you.
And yeah, I appreciate you too. And thank you so much again for having me on. I guess I try to channel as well in these, that trying to speak to that which is the unspoken. We need to speak to the unspoken here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you.
Well, yeah, that's why we started the podcast, is to speak to the unspoken. Definitely.
And how do we come from love again? She's of love. How do we come from love again? Not this good versus evil battle.
Yes.
And instead find the good within.
Amazing. Thank you, Renee. Until next time.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
See you.
See you next week.
Bye, everyone.